Good afternoon. My name is Natalia, and today I'm going to be talking about the rising oil prices in the economy. I've actually elected to do an interview of Eton Loading Dock Services General Manager. He happens to be my spouse, and this is his family's business since 2014. He has entered the business as a general manager since 2022. But I've elected this format, though it is a little longer than required. I hope that the relevance of what we speak about is appreciated, and it is very close to home for us, for a little family, for the business, and for the industry that we operate in day to day and that we rely on for our livelihood. So I hope you enjoy.
Hello, Daron. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Thanks for joining today, um, and for agreeing to this interview.
My
Um,
pleasure.
so, as I had previously mentioned, we are going to be talking about the oil crisis, oil price crisis, um, specifically regarding Eton Loading Dock and your business. Why don't we go ahead and get started? First and foremost, would you like to maybe take a second to explain your role in Eton Loading Dock Services and perhaps talk a little bit as to the business and the industry?
Yeah, for sure. I to start. My name is, as you said, Jerome Francis. I'm the general manager at Eton Loading Dock Services. We are a construction service provider in the GTA. We service central and southern Ontario, primarily in the overhead door, loading dock, and concrete spaces. The company as a whole has been operating since 2014, so we're in our 12th year,
Mhm.
and our trajectory has been, just to continue to grow and become a more complete service provider for all of our customers.
Okay, so thank you for that. And so you've been with the company for how long now in this position?
Yeah, so I've been with the company since 2022
Mhm.
in this position. Primarily, my role focuses on ensuring that compliance is being met, that service standards are being, met as well, and also that we are able to continue to expand our offerings and expand our footprint within our market.
Mhm.
So my day to day, as a general manager ranges from, overseeing staff to implementing new policies and procedures to also outlining our growth efforts, planning for this year and beyond.
Okay. Thank you. And now, actually, yeah, you kind of touched on something that I wanted to talk about, and you say that one of your biggest roles or one of your tasks as a general manager is overseeing the expansion of the company. Now, I know Eaton Loading Dock is a smaller family business, and in your efforts to expand, have you found that the rising fuel costs or oil costs have dampened your efforts or made it a little bit difficult? Can you speak to um, the rising fuel prices and how they've affected your business or your industry or that you've noticed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a service company. So we are
Mhm.
primarily on the road every day. We go to separate job sites. Um, so with the rising fuel costs, that means that our service costs have to increase as well. So it's
Mhm.
kind of two pronged where our service cost has to increase with the rising cost of oil. But then the economy as a whole has been struggling with the rising cost of oil. So there's been
Mhm.
uncertainty attached to the increase in oil costs
Mhm.
um, economically as a whole. And I would say that there are other factors such as tariffs and things like that that are affecting the economy as a whole as well. But in conjunction, the economy has seen better days. So
Right.
with regards to us being able to offer a competitive price to, a price that our customers can afford, oftentimes you run into a situation where we're more or less misaligned on pricing, especially with bigger, large scale projects. Um,
Mhm.
so what we've seen is a lot of customers are either putting large projects on hold, or deferring them indefinitely. So
Mhm.
that's very common. We've run into a number of larger projects that were either phased out or deferred altogether.
Mhm.
Which for us as a company, that makes it difficult for long-term planning, because of that instability there.
Right.
And then there are also customers that we have that deal directly, um, or I guess I should say, who are directly affected by oil prices. For example, um, we have a couple of packaging companies where they use either styrofoam or um, um,
Mhm.
materials that are directly made from oil. So as those increase, those companies are feeling the pinch a little bit more, which means any facility improvement projects they have on the go are
Mhm.
going to become a little bit less important at this time.
Right. Okay. Thank you. That's a solid amount of information there. One thing is, when we hear in the commonplace oil prices rising, the instinct is to think about what that's going to cost for our gas tanks, for our
Mhm.
vehicles. But it sounds like in this industry and in your business, it's a lot more elaborate. So, not just as a service company are your costs going up, um, with the use of gas or diesel on your vehicles, but it sounds like it's putting a damper on your suppliers, on your customers, on you guys as a business as well, not just for the transportation piece, but also for the manufacturing piece, um, depending on what we're looking at and who we're talking to.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Personally, I think we all feel it in our personal, pockets,
Hmm.
in terms of getting to and from work and our daily lives.
Hmm.
But oil is one of those resources that are used for almost everything. It's the backbone
Yeah.
of our economy, and when oil prices are increasing, um, naturally less there is less confidence in the economy as a whole. So
Hmm.
it's the way I see it is a direct correlation. As oil prices increase, um, naturally the market as a whole becomes a little
Right.
more volatile.
Hmm.
People are a little bit less willing to spend money, um, because it's such a critical resource.
Supply and demand, instant
Exactly.
effects. Um, and speaking of supply and demand, I mean, you've mentioned that the demand has certainly gone down with um, customers delaying projects or phasing things out. On the supply side as well, have you noticed directly any price increases as far as maybe your loading docks or your doors or um, perhaps the lead time for having your material available to work
Mhm.
with? Has this been directly impacted over the past few months since the war began?
Yeah, for sure. I think all these costs are at the end of the day being passed down to the consumers,
Hmm.
or end users. In our case, we're business to business, so the purchasing business will ultimately eat these costs.
Right.
Um, so for sure, I would say that oil prices have affected the affordability of our products. Um, and I think as a result, we're seeing customers that are shifting their mindset a little bit to perhaps doing repairs rather than replacements, trying to
Hmm.
extend the product life a little bit longer. Um, all these things have adverse effects because you extend the life of a product that needs to be replaced longer. You're
Hmm.
creating additional safety concerns, um, which also isn't good, right? So
Yeah.
we'll see more customers interested in things like preventive maintenance and repairs themselves, um, which is fine as well. That's also a critical part of our business as well. But
Hmm.
as the general manager of this company, we often do projections, right? So trying to understand what percentage of the business is going to be service related, what percentage is going to be new construction, and what percentage is going to be installation and replacement.
Mm-hmm.
So when we see a war happen that drastically changes the costing of things, it's hard for us to prepare and project what our year is going to look like.
Right. And I know you mentioned that it's very difficult to anticipate and to strategize more
Mhm.
confidently for the future, given the fluctuations in the economy, but also specifically the oil prices. Um, have you, as a general manager or the owner, looked at different? I mean, what kind of strategies have you looked at, or what have you had to potentially change in your company in order to reduce the impact of the rising fuel costs?
Yeah. So one thing is really keeping an eye on labor. So um, it's a critical piece for us in terms of having the right amount of labor at the right time. So when you're looking at large projects for the year, you want to make sure you have the right labor there to execute on those projects.
Hmm.
And if those projects go away, then we
Hmm.
have to make sure that we're adjusting our labor, accordingly. So that's one thing we've done is look at
Hmm.
our labor spend and reduce labor where we need to
Hmm.
in order to make sure that we're not negative in that portion.
Hmm.
Um, Another thing that we've had to do is in terms of how we generate business and where we
Hmm.
generate business, how we advertise, how we network, focusing on areas that are fruitful for the time being, right? So,
Hmm.
uh, you know, any kind of advertising spend that we have, um, rightfully so, should be reallocated towards more service-related work at this point in time. So those are, two very basic examples of what we can do in our control. Uh,
Hmm.
but a lot of it, unfortunately, is outside of our control. So,
Right.
there are days where there's a little bit less work on the table.
Hmm.
Um, there are, some further days for our guys that we do have on board right now,
Hmm.
and that's kind of the reality of where we're at. And when we canvas the industry, and it's when we talk to other companies in the industry or
Hmm.
people that we know, we kind of see the same story across different companies and across company sizes as well. So
Right.
we're by no means the largest company in our industry, but when we network and connect with our partners in those other companies, we do see this as being it's a widespread effect,
Hmm.
and everyone's dealing with it in their own way.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So while it's negative, it is not unique to your business. It sounds like it affects the entire industry as a whole. And it sounds like what it's doing is really impacting the ability to grow fast and have predetermined strategies that you can bake out um, as far as growth goes. And it sounds like that's industry wide.
Absolutely.
Yeah, supply and demand has certainly been impacted. But okay, well, those are all of my questions for today. Thank you so much for joining me,
My pleasure.
and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Enjoy. Take care.
So to wrap things up, as was determined from the interview, the rising oil prices don't only affect our gas tanks. This is just to zoom in into our business and our industry. So, taking this idea and carrying it through all of the plethora of businesses and industries that we are webbed into on a day to day. The impact is immense. Just in our day to day, labor is affected, machinery is affected, supply, demand, our customers, the entire chain feels it, and ultimately it is pricier, much needed service or repair is delayed, and growth is stagnant for the industry. Not just because of the rising oil prices, but certainly it is a big factor. So, thank you again for staying tuned and have a great day.